For our final project, I'm going to give you obviously the option to do it in a color pencil or do it in digital painting. And I do recommend that you do it in whichever medium you enjoy the most. So, if you've been working it digitally, you should probably stick with digital. But if you decide that you want to do it in color pencil and you have the materials, you don't have to. Same thing, if you did the Apple in color pencil and you really want to try to do this digitally, that's fine too. You have your own choice on this. Some of you don't have a choice because you're doing this, you only have the computer at home, you don't have the color pencils, but if you do have the choice, you could still make that choice. But if you are doing that, I'm going to be taking the photos that you submit to me and I'm going to be adding a grid to them. You need the grid if you're going to do this in color pencil. So if you're going to work in color pencil, we're going to work on the neutral tone paper. Again, that's not the same as the white paper. So I know I gave you some white paper and some sketchbook paper. We're going to be using the colored paper, not the black, but the same basic paper that we used for our apple. So if it's gray, if it's brown, if it's maroon, it really doesn't matter as long as it's not white. We are going to do a 2x3 square grid, and we're going to make that 2-inch boxes. What I'll recommend is with your paper, start in the bottom corner and just align the ruler to the very bottom of the paper. All right, so it's nice and straight and square. So we're going to just make a little border so we're not working right on the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to work in pencil, regular pencil. I'm just going to make a little border on the bottom of the paper, just the width of the ruler. Again, I'm going to line up the ruler on the side of the paper. You can work on either side, whatever works for you. But the paper should be pretty square. So if I line up the ruler with the edge of the page, that'll be a nice, inch and a quarter border that I'm putting on my paper. So I'm just going to sort of start that off as if I'm making a graph. Now I said we're going to do 2-inch boxes. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to put the 0 right at that start of the graph, and then I'm going to measure off 2 and 4. And if you have your picture, if your picture's horizontal, so like this particular picture right here is vertical, obviously you can do this vertically, but if your picture is horizontal, then just turn your paper a different way and do it all horizontal. You don't have to do it in the same direction that I'm doing it. But you can see I've measured off 2 and 4, and I've started my ruler right on that line, and then I'm just going to move up the page, doesn't matter how far, maybe halfway up, and then I'll just mark off again 2 and 4. 2 measurements, that way I have a nice even grid. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead, and then again, our grid lines, we really want these things to disappear into the background, so I'm going to make mine really, really light. I hope you can still see them on the video, but we want these to be light so they erase really easy and disappear, because as you know with color pencil, the color pencil, you can kind of see through the color pencil. So if you put really dark lines, you're going to see those dark lines through later on, and they become really hard to erase. And if you press really hard, even if you erase it, you make a little groove in the paper, which again sort of gets picked up once you start doing the shading. Now for the vertical part, we're going to do, it's going to be a 6 inches total because there's going to be 3 2-inch boxes. So I'll put my 6 right over here, right on the bottom edge over there, and I'll just mark off at 4, 2, 0, and then I'm going to go across the page at the other side and just put my 6 right at the bottom over there, and then go to 4, 2, and 0. And then I'm going to connect the dots. Once again, I want to make sure that those dots are connected with really light lines, light enough that I can see them, but I want them to disappear into the background. I don't want to really draw too heavily on this paper or press down to where I can't erase. And that is going to be my nice, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 setup. And again, if you are someone who's going to work horizontally, just feel free to turn your paper the same way as your picture is going to be. I only have a couple people who have submitted their pictures so far, so you guys can get started on this. For those of you who are still working, well, get what you're working done, and let's get moving on to this as we go. And if you are going to work digitally, you obviously don't have to worry about this step. This is not for you, so that will be posted.